Hi everyone, I thought I would do a review and demo for you today of the Makeup Forever Ultra HD in one of the new shades, Y205. It's the lightest shade in the yellow toned line. I have a sample of it because I did not want to buy it until I tried it out for a while. And short story is I'm probably not going to buy it. So as you'll see in the demo, it takes a lot. I tend to wear my foundation kind of light at most medium coverage, but usually more on the light side. My skin tone is NC5 to NC10. Definitely have more yellow tones in my skin. You might be able to tell this is definitely not a very yellow shade. It would be kind, I think, to call it neutral. On me, it's a lot more pink than it is yellow, and that's really, it just doesn't match. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between my face and my neck. My neck is significantly lighter, like the rest of my body basically is lighter than my face. So I do try to get my face to be matching a closer shade to my neck and chest and hands and all that. So that's why I need that very, very light foundation. What works best for me color-wise at the moment is the NARS Sheer Glow in Siberia, though that is just like a smidgen too dark. It's much better than most things I've tried, but it is a tiny bit dark, but the undertones are very yellow, which does work for me much better. So as far as applying this foundation, I have some issues with my skin where applying anything with my fingers or a brush, it tends to just kind of slide across my face and then just settle into my pores. This is no different from anything else that does happen with this. So my preferred method is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. And I do get that damp and then kind of squeeze out all the water I can and apply it that way. I need a lot of product in order to get this level of coverage, which isn't terribly high. It does have a little bit more of a, I would say, kind of satin finish. The SPF I'm using right now leaves a lot of glow underneath products. So even if I'm using something a little bit more on the matte side, it is going to show up a little bit more glowy and dewy looking with this SPF underneath it. So that is something to keep in mind, that it isn't necessarily going to be this dewy on your face. So first thing I do is I'm just gonna kind of blot my oilier areas. The SPF I'm using obviously leaves a pretty shiny finish, and so I just want to make sure that I take away any extra kind of moisture or oil from the areas where I'm prone to being oily. The SPF I use is this Paula's Choice Resist, the Daily Moisturizer SPF 25 Cellular Defense. And so this is my little sample pot. What I like to do is just take a metal spatula and mix it up, since we can't really shake it. So I really try to mix it well. And that way I can also kind of scoop out what I want and put it on my hand. I found that I need quite a bit of this. There we go. You can see the consistency there. It's not super thick, not super thin. And I believe that this is not the recommended way of applying it by anyone, but it's just the only way that works for me. Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. So I do have a kind of healing blemish over here. You can see what it looks like coverage wise, but it is a little scabby, so it's not the best indicator, since that flaky skin is gonna not be so kind to any product. trying to multitask, bake muffins and record videos at the same time. I would not recommend it. Alright, I think that's as good as it's going to get. Do want to set this with a powder in my T-zone, and I'm going to use my NARS translucent crystal light reflecting setting powder pressed, and I'm using this EcoTools powder brush. I think it's called a round powder brush, and I'm just gonna put that in areas where foundation tends to move around on me, which is more or less my T-zone. Now it doesn't help that I'm sweaty because I'm dealing with the oven. So that's it for the skin. I did put on some more lip gloss and some blush. So I am wearing the L'Oreal, whatever these glosses are called. Does it say? Nope. In Rose Melody. And on my cheeks is Benefit Rockateur blush. So the two reasons that I would not necessarily buy this are the color isn't that great. There is another shade that's lighter than anything in the previous line. It's Y205. It's called Yellow Alabaster on Sephora's site. Unfortunately, they don't carry it in store at my Sephora or any Sephoras around me. And it may be too dark. I don't know. And I would think about buying it without trying it if the formula itself worked better for me. But my issue is that it just kind of slides around on my face. So I have been testing out a variety of things at the moment. And this one, after about 4 hours, I would say, around areas that aren't even super oily, like around my mouth, that's not a really oily spot for me. If I just accidentally like scratch my face or something, all the foundation will like collect into a line as to where I touch my face. So it really starts moving around. What I can do is kind of pat everything back into place and then blot. And I will get some oil away from that. More oil than other products that I've been using will show at that point. And it will look okay. If I don't kind of smooth everything out before I blot, then I'll be left with a very kind of dry, cakey clumps of foundation, as you might imagine. But so it's a little bit tedious, you know, kind of pat things off and then blot and whatever. If it just kind of wore away, it wouldn't bother me as much, but I still want something that's gonna last longer than 4 or 5 hours. Most days I do my makeup before my son gets up, so I put it on around 7 in the morning, and I don't remove it until, you know, like 9 at night. Now obviously most products aren't gonna look good during that whole process, but I don't want something that by noon is already starting to move around. So the color, like I talked about before, it's just not really a great match for you. If you are like NC5, rather NW5, have a more pink undertone, I think this might be a good fit for you color-wise. Formula, I'm not really sure. My skin is normally, my cheeks are kind of normal to dry, and my T-zone is oily. I'm currently pregnant, and the same as my previous pregnancy, my skin is just drier now than it normally is. So my T-zone is only slightly, very slightly oily, and my cheeks are more dry, which is why I switched to that more moisturizing SPF. So I'm not producing a ton of oil, and when I'm blotting with other products that I'm wearing, you can't really see much on the blotting sheet. So I'm not producing a lot of oil in general, but for some reason this HD, Ultra HD really lets the oil come through. Or maybe it just makes my skin make more oil, I'm not really sure. So yeah, the color and the formula just don't really work that well for me. I feel like it's a very nice finish when it looks nice, but it's not something that I would recommend for a full day at the office, that kind of thing. Now how it wears on your skin, who knows, you know? I feel like my skin is just very strange and very peculiar and constantly changing, so I never really know what to do to make it happy. But right now I feel like I can get it in a place where other products are wearing well, but I still can't make this wear well. Even when I'm setting it with a specific setting powder, you know, not just like a powder that I'm putting on top of it, it's just not looking so great. I will say, compared to the other product I'm testing, which is the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra, which is a matte finish, but seems to be working okay because of that SPF I'm wearing and the fact that I have a lot of moisture in my skin from the SPF. That one can look a little dry, where what I notice an issue with foundation looking dry will be on my cheeks and right here on my pores. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it does definitely have a little bit more of a dewy finish. So this area specifically doesn't look so dry. If my skin was smoother there, it wouldn't matter. But because I'm getting a little bit older and my skin is like pulling down a little, it's like it's pulling on those pores, and it almost looks like lines are starting where it's just the pores are being pulled a little. It's kind of strange, but anything that is dry looking in that area can be very aging and it's very obvious. So this does look a little bit better in that area, so I do appreciate that. But that's about it. So the finish is nice, but it does not make up for the wear time issues that I have. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, but down below I would love to hear from you. If you are not subscribed and you would like to see more videos from me, then please do. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.